News, coming to you from Jerusalem. I just got back a few minutes ago from Kfar Aza, which is a kibbutz, probably about an hour south of Jerusalem, and roughly probably about 5 miles or less from the Gaza Strip. On October 7th, 70 Hamas terrorists launched a brutal attack on Kfar Aza. Kfar Aza is home to about 700 Jewish families. They woke up around 6:30 in the morning to an incredible barrage of gunfire. The mayor of this region, Mayor Ophir, who is a very well-known mayor in the community and in fact in the region. Why? Because for a very, very long time, Mayor Ophir has made it his life's mission to build bridges of friendship and peace between residents of the kibbutz and folks who are living on the Gaza Strip. And he had various outreaches, he was various work opportunities, different events with the kids from both communities. Folks in kibbutz Kfar Aza would very often go to the Gaza fence, and there would be many families, Jewish families, that would go and welcome Gazans who were facing different difficulties. For example, maybe they needed medical treatment, some emergency medical treatment, and the residents of kibbutz Kfar Aza would take these Gazans and take them to some of the best hospitals in Jerusalem or Tel Aviv. Anyway, Mayor Ofer, 2 days before October 7th attack, he welcomed over 600 evangelical Christians from 50 countries who came and visited Sderot, kibbutz Aza, and a number of other kibbutzim around the community. And basically these 600 Christians from around the world came to show their support for the nation of Israel. And Mayor Ophir had a very close relationship with evangelical Christians. And again, part of his heart was to foster peace between the religions, peace between the communities. On October 7th, he heard the gunshots outside of his home. He dashed out to see what was going on, took a few steps down his pathway, and came face to face with a Hamas fighter. And they pointed their weapon at him, and he fell to the ground and lost his life. Today, I, along with a number of journalists from Israel and other parts of the world, had a chance to visit kibbutz Kfar Aza to see what it was like 3+ weeks after the horrific events of October 7th. In this community of 700 people, 70 people lost their lives, 58 were severely injured, and the numbers are not, nobody knows for sure, but maybe between 15 and 16 folks have been kidnapped by Hamas, and they don't know where their loved ones are right now. When I went to the kibbutz today, 3+ weeks later, the stench of death was everywhere. I saw so many homes that were, in essence, either completely set ablaze. I saw the kitchen floors of several homes stained with blood, pieces of hair everywhere. You could see how Hamas had dragged their victims through the bedrooms, through the kitchen. I went into this one room that looked like a little girl's room, and there were bullet holes everywhere, everywhere, on the roof. I mean, I could not recognize the roof. It was just riddled with bullets. It was quite a scene to witness. And all throughout the visit to the kibbutz, the Israeli army is very close by, and they are firing their artillery into Gaza. The mission continues, and all around you can just hear the huge booms of the Israeli army as they continue to target various Hamas infrastructure, command and control centers, and the homes of Hamas terrorists and operatives. You know, over the years, I have, having covered all the wars in the last 25 years, from Syria to Afghanistan to Iraq, to the last Israel-Hamas war in 2014, to the Israel's war with Hezbollah, and the recent war in Ukraine, where I spent 4 months. I have smelt the smell of death before. Sadly, one too many times. And as soon as I stepped out the car, that smell came back. And it is a smell that you will never forget. We had a chance a few hours later to go and visit a neighboring kibbutz, Kibbutz Be'eri. I'm sure you're familiar with it. It also endured the carnage put forth by Hamas. And it was a difficult day, but when I went to Kibbutz Be'eri, there was a ray of hope that I didn't expect. I had a chance to meet Army Gold, a 35-year veteran, resident rather, of Be'eri, who, along with his precious wife, decided to come back to the kibbutz, and I found them cleaning up their house. They were pretty much the only people on the kibbutz, only residents of the kibbutz who had come back. And we had a powerful interview, incredible. The resilience on this man's face and in his words were quite remarkable. And he described how for almost 13 hours, he, along with other residents of the kibbutz, fought off Hamas. In the process, sadly, he lost his sister-in-law, who was kidnapped by Hamas, taken across the gate, and subsequently murdered. And he lost other friends. He said he had a number of his friends die in his arm. But I tell you, when I looked into his eyes, there was this resoluteness that was quite remarkable for a person who had seen so much death and destruction, surrounded by the smell of death. Yet he came back to his home to start cleaning up. He and his wife are living in a hotel not too far away. But he said he needed to come back. I asked him how he was doing, and he said, I have good days and I have bad days. And I asked him to describe the bad days. And he said, just remembering the anguish of those 12 hours, the explosions, the RPG attacks, the gunfire, the just the back and forth and all the blood and all the screaming and all those noises, those images and those sounds continued to haunt him 3 weeks plus, as you can imagine, after the attacks. I said, "What are your good days like, Mr. Gold?" And he said, "Coming back to my home." And he said he will never leave this home. He showed me the front of his home that used to have a gazebo, and he jokingly took me through his home and, kind of like a moment of levity. He says, "Well, I guess I need to, I need to rebuild my gazebo." And he said, "That's not going to be a problem. I have no problem. Those things can be replaceable." But you could just sense the resoluteness in him. I asked him, do you feel revengeful against what Hamas did to you?" And he very clearly said no. He said, "But what Hamas did on October 7th was a huge mistake. And he believes that Hamas should pay for what they did." Today, he, along with many Israelis, want the complete dismantle, destruction, and elimination of Hamas. It's a view that I have heard over and over again from the day I arrived here last week. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has made it very clear that he is going to destroy Hamas, at least from a governing standpoint, and completely make it impossible for them to ever govern again. There's some interesting things going on. I asked Mr. Gold what he thought about U.S. Secretary Antony Blinken's idea of getting the Palestinian Authority to rule the Gaza Strip again. He said, "No way." He said, "Absolutely no way. There is no difference between the Palestinian Authority and Hamas," in his point of view. There is some talk in the last few hours of a multinational force, because the big question now is what comes after Hamas is destroyed in the Gaza Strip. It's a big question. The Israelis have made it very clear that they don't want to occupy the Gaza Strip, and so there's been some thought of a multinational task force, which would include potentially U.S. troops. I'm not sure how that's going to float here in the region, as you can imagine. Obviously, the Israelis would welcome that, but I'm not sure if any of Israel's neighbors, like Egypt or Jordan or Syria or Iraq, would agree to such a move. Today was another effort by the IDF to go block by block, street by street. My understanding is that over 11,000 targets have been struck since Israel's ground invasion last week. At least 5 very high-level senior Hamas officials were targeted and eliminated. And obviously today the big controversy in the rest of the world is the attack on the refugee camp yesterday evening, where the IDF says that they did strike the building, the refugee camp, because they were targeting a senior Hamas official. The Gaza Ministry of Health reports, they say about 50 plus Palestinians lost their lives and dozens more were injured. We had a chance to interview the former U.S. Israeli ambassador to the UN, who said that they did in fact hit the refugee camp. But he also made note that this is the tactics of Hamas to place innocent civilians in these various locations, be it hospitals, schools, mosques, refugee camps or churches is sort of their MO. And I've seen it happen in different parts of the world as I've covered other wars, whether be it in Iraq or Afghanistan or Syria. Anyway, I just wanted to come on. I'm not sure if folks have any questions for me, but I thought I'd just come over and tell you, come on here and tell you about my day. It was tough to hear and see, but I was also inspired by Mr. Gold's story. It really was an inspiring story to see this one man and his wife to come back to Kibbutz Be'eri and to start the process of picking up the pieces of their lives. I'll have that story on a future broadcast of CBN News. Thank you so much for praying for Chris Mitchell, for Julie Stahl, for John Waggy, for Cindy Liu, for Jonathan Goff, for just the entire team here in Jerusalem, for Chuck Holton and myself. We feel your prayers. They have sustained us. They've watched over us. Will you continue to pray for the nation of Israel as they go through this very, very difficult period in their life? For all those families who are waiting with bated breath, wondering when their loved ones will be rescued. Pray for the IDF as they continue to launch their operations. The days ahead are going to be tough. They're getting ready to go into Gaza City. It's going to be block by block, street by street, house by house. And Hamas has been waiting, preparing for this moment. And Israel's Prime Minister has made it very clear that tough days are definitely ahead for Israel. While you pray for Israel, will you pray for the Gazans of the Gaza Strip? They are also suffering today. Innocent people suffering because of Hamas's choices for putting them in harm's way and putting them in places where they should not be. Continue to watch us on all our various platforms. Please share this with others. You can catch me on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter at George Thomas Reporting. Again, thank you so much for coming on YouTube and following the events of the day as we try to the best of our ability, to bring you the latest of what's going on here in the region.